All right. So I just did an unboxing of this Spin Master Batman action figure that's called Combat Batman, and it turned out pretty good. So you can go watch that once you're done with this one, I guess. So this episode of Batman the Animated Series is called POV, and it uses a storytelling gimmick. Sorry, I've been out running errands today. I'm still got a little bit of the sweat worked up, but it's one that it uses that kind of storytelling chestnut of different characters telling of an event from different perspectives. Like, what was the name of that original story? Like Rashomon or something like, I don't remember. But basically, all these characters are going to tell us the story of what happened from their perspective, or at least pieces of the story. It's all going to fit together, but you're going to get to see different perspectives of police officers in the Gotham City universe, and one of them, of course, is our old pal Harvey Bullock, my personal favorite, at least besides Jim Gordon, of course, and then Renee Montoya, who becomes an important character in the comics later on, but she was originally created for the animated series, and then some other rookie cop that I don't think we really see again after this. But anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Theme music. And of course, I'm watching this on HBO Just Max, not HBO Max anymore. Hi, Aunt June. Hello. Aunt June's here. So she's always been a good supporter of me. And if you want to be cool like my Aunt June, make sure you like and subscribe and leave a comment and everything like that. And if you want to catch this while it's live, like my Aunt June, hit the little bell, and that'll warn you anytime that I go live. There's where the eyes narrow. I missed the little white spot. There's a little white spot on my lip today. Same white spot as yesterday. They'll take it out with digital someday. Anyway. I probably lost like 5 subscribers by singing. POV. Nice title card there with like this kind of jigsaw. You know it's going to be a good episode because my boy Kevin Altieri is directing it. So even if you're a little disappointed that, oh, it's another episode that doesn't have any big supervillains in it, it's going to be a well-animated gangster episode. So, I mean, just look at the cop car flying around the corner like that. So there's Renee Montoya. I think this is probably one of the first episodes where you get get some. Don't encourage me to say. I think this is one of the first episodes where she has a substantial part. So, and like I said, I don't think we ever see this Jimmy Olsen-looking dude again. You know it's Bullock's car because it's got garbage all in it. Looks a lot like my car, actually. Although the inside of it. Do you realize what this means? Why did you wait for us? Yeah, they started using her in the comics around this time, Renee Montoya. She was created for the show, and I think that what happened was when Denny O'Neil, who was the editor of Batman Comics at the time, was looking over, the stuff for Batman the Animated Series, he ran across this character and was, oh, that's a great shot with Batman all silhouetted there, and the Bullock with such hatred in his voice, Batman. Hey, don't talk mean about security guards. But Nonchalantly about to eat that candy bar. This IA jerk just knocks it out of his hand. The disapproving look that Montoya shoots to Bullock right there. I love that. But yeah, I kind of feel like Denny probably figured that she filled a spot in the Batman mythos that wasn't really being filled at the time. But, you know, whereas Bullock is, you know, kind of antagonistic towards Batman and thinks that he's like, you know, butting his bat nose into police business. Renee Montoya is much more supportive of the Dark Knight. And now Bullock's going to tell his version of the events, which of course is, you know, colored to make him look as favorable as possible. But we're all the hero of our own story. Now, if I remember correctly, what they do in this is they show us what really happened while the character tells us the story from their perspective in the narration. And this is a narrative device that was used in the comic book Batman Year One. Oh man, that's a great shot with like the painted background face and the animated mouth over it. Anyway, so in Year One, Frank Miller and Dave Mazzucchelli have a sequence in which Flass, who is a corrupt detective, tells us about like basically he's at a drug deal and he's taking a bribe, and Batman shows up and busts up the drug deal. This henchman looks a lot like B-movie actor Rondo Hatton. I believe that's intentional. There was also a villain in The Rocketeer that was drawn to look like Rondo Hatton, and he even made it to the movie of The Rocketeer. But yeah, as the illustrations show Flash taking the bribe, and you know shows us Batman, Flash tells us he was in the process of apprehending the felons when this bat-like creature jumps down, and the one of the felons who had not yet disarmed produced a firearm, and the bullets went through the creature without even harming him, and you could see that basically the shots just completely missed Batman and just go through his cape. But POV is kind of similar to that. So now we got a whole big fire. Our 1940s gangsters flee the scene. I love this guy's ascot. You can tell he's the boss because he's got an ascot. He's drawn to look a little bit like Al Capone. Actually, looks more like the Penguin than Colin Farrell's Penguin did. I've got a Danny DeVito Penguin head on my 3D printer right now. It's got like a couple hours left, but I'm really excited about that Danny DeVito Penguin head. Just FYI, it doesn't really have any relation to this episode. That's what he says, but in fact, Batman saves Bullock's life. Yeah, right.
So you went in because of Batman. I told you they were late. Were you trying to beat him out of the collar or beat them to the cash? He's up. No, you back off, Commissioner. Gordon, this is my investigation. So pipe down or get out. He knows I was supposed to go in.
Gordon looks great in this episode. I like him with the rolled up sleeves and the loose tie and everything like that. I like seeing the cops back at the headquarters when they're out of their trench coats and their hats and everything, and they're a little more casual.
Like Officer Montoya said, we weren't late. When we arrived, Detective Bullock was down. Then the two suspects came out of the building. I pursued him while Officer Montoya went into the warehouse. When I looked into the alley, the suspects were completely vanished.
Like I said, I don't think we see much of this kid after this episode, but he's certainly well used in this episode.
Then he came out of nowhere. I heard it. I've never seen it.
So
It was incredible. The Batman fought us and sparks flew from his fingers.
this part is really similar, again, to the last bit I was talking about in Batman Year One. Like Bullock's is similar in that he colors it to make himself look better, but this kid, the way he tells it, Batman, from his perspective, is almost like this supernatural figure with all kinds of like incredible powers, instead of just a very resourceful man with gadgets. But like he didn't throw a batarang; he just pointed at the guy and he fell over, that kind of thing.
What did he say? I couldn't hear. The guy with funny skin blurted out.
Doc something.
Doc who?
Doc Savage.
Just said.
Doc Brown.
We're interrogating the suspect now.
Doc Ock.
You look like
That's a different cartoon.
he's holding something back. Take it easy. He told you everything you know. I'll touch it. I hope you're as good at defending yourself, since the detective here is calling you a liar. Wait. Nobody's calling anyone a liar. There's obviously a communication problem here. But my officers are not liars. Well, someone in here is lying. Why don't you
The acting on her animation there is just so good.
All right, let's have your. Like I said before, we got there on time.
And I really like Montoya's design with like the eyebrows and the cheekbones, and I think that a lot of that carried over into the Justice League animated series with Wonder Woman. Like she's got that same sort of look of Wonder Woman, where she's like a beautiful woman, but like with still like strong features. I like the shade of blue on that one guy's suit. Uh-oh. Oh, that's a great shot. That's a really anime-looking shot. You can see how anime would have been a big influence on this show a lot of the times and stuff like that. Oh, man, the action there. Oh man, I missed what would have been a good gag when Batman was going up the grappling hook with Bullock. I should have said, "You weigh a little more than 108." And like I said, Montoya is always, throughout this show, been a big supporter of Batman. So you know she's brokenhearted to see him.
One of you was going to burn too.
And this guy's just a jerk.
3 cops with 2 stories. I'm telling you, they will wait. Commissioner, that's not true. Both went in early. So you're accusing the detective of trying to hog the car. We may have had good reasons to go in, but we were not late. So it's my word against theirs. Now what, Commissioner? You're all suspended until I make my decision. Suspended? Hey, you can't. But no, I'll take your badges and your weapons.
I don't know if I mentioned this, but I really like the design of the police officers' uniforms on this show with the bomber jackets, and it does a really good job of like fitting in with that sort of like 1940s look that they wanted the show to have, but at the same time it's still kind of just modern enough that you could believe it as being the way that the whole background goes black around the badge. That's really cool. But you could believe it as being like a modern type of police officer uniform. Like it could even work as a police officer uniform today, over 20 years into the 20th century. So this show's like 30 years old, and in a lot of ways, it still looks ahead of this time. Like I said, the only time it even really seems dated is when they make some kind of cultural reference to something that was popular at the time. Like Harley Quinn makes an Arsenio Hall reference, and you realize that, like, on a sliding time scale, she probably shouldn't be old enough to remember that. I'm sure this is something you see in real life too, but like, oftentimes when you see the police officer who, they've been relieved of their badge and their gun, but they just can't let that case go. And it's a good thing she didn't, because these guys actually managed to capture Batman because he got knocked out while he was saving her. And again, I'm pretty sure this is the first time we've seen like a really big role for Montoya in this episode. And I don't think she ever gets an episode where she gets a bigger part than this. So this is an episode that's worth going back and revisiting just to see her get some character development.
Keep your cape on. Keep right up there. That's all I want to know.
Love that. He could have got out anytime he wanted to. Anytime he wanted to, he could have got out. There's like in the Justice League animated series, there's actually like a gag very similar to this, but on a larger scale, where Batman's been captured by the Legion of Doom, and he's in they've got him basically like all chained up in this device, and he's just like playing mental games with them the whole time and turning them against each other. And the Joker's trying to tell him, hey, we got to kill Batman like right now. You don't understand. You don't know him like I do. We need to kill him. And nobody wants to listen to him. So finally, he decides to take matters into his own hands and goes into the room where they're holding Batman captive. And Batman's gotten out by then. He's like, I could have got out anytime I wanted to. And this guy's the guy in charge because he's got a monocle. And monocles even outrank ascots. I can't see well enough in the shadows. He might be wearing an ascot too. If he's got a monocle and an ascot and a derby, that would make him like the ultimate mob boss. And if he's got a British accent on top of it, and it's got to be like a classy British accent, not like, a Cockney or Northern. He's got that received pronunciation. The classy gentleman mob boss. Imagine having to climb all the way up that ladder and then Batman just throws another henchman on top of you. Yeah, that 108 joke wouldn't be as funny with Montoya. It's a lot funnier with Bullock. Oh, that's a good shot. The guy climbing the ladder again. Guess what? Oh no, he's made it this time. I thought for sure Batman was going to throw the other gangster at him. You know, dude, there was probably easier ways to get that table off your head. I'm just saying. It's too bad the Scarecrow wasn't the villain in this episode, because then she could have used a crane to defeat Crane. Come on, you got to give me that one. And we got to show that these guys didn't die. So in the comic book, Renee Montoya would eventually become a superhero herself, because she would become the second Question. I don't know if she's still the Question, because I know Vic Sage is back. But from my perspective, you could have both Renee and Vic be the Question. I don't see why you couldn't have two of them. If anything, it would just confuse the bad guys more, wouldn't it? And I think we're about to get another Danny Elfman. Yep. We got Batman driving a forklift into a boat. We need to have that Elfman Batman theme. And then the boat crashes into the dock. Dramatic music. I'm glad that even though Batman got free, Montoya still got some stuff to do. This really is her episode more than anybody else's. If anybody's the protagonist of this episode, it's Montoya. So good job, Montoya. And those cool deco paddy wagons. I love the effect of the police lights on the side of the building.
You didn't just bust. You put the whole gang out. What? She's suspended. This farce has gone far enough. We've nailed the suspects and recovered our money. The investigation is closed. I'll come on, Sawyer.
I love Gordon. Gordon just really is like the best cop. You want every cop to be Commissioner Gordon. If every cop was Commissioner Gordon, the world would be a much better place.
Thanks a lot.
Hell, I'd even take every cop being Bullock. All right, so let's see. All right, so we had Kevin Conroy as Batman, Robert Costanzo as Detective Bullock, Bob Hastings as Commissioner Gordon, Robbie Benson as Wilkes. I knew that voice sounded familiar. Robbie Benson was a teen idol in the 1970s, and probably the thing most people know him for these days is he was the voice of the Beast in Beauty and the Beast, the Disney animated Beauty and the Beast. John Considine as Hackle. He also was a child star, I believe. Ingrid Oliu as Montoya. Ron Perlman as Driller. I knew that voice sounded familiar. So, yeah, he was the Rondo Hatton looking guy. And Mark Tubert as Scarface, who I'm just going to assume was the guy that I said looked like Al Capone, because it would make sense that he would be called Scarface. Although, in the world of Batman, there's another Scarface that's much more prominent than old Snorky, and that was the ventriloquist puppet Scarface, but he hasn't shown up on the animated series yet. Don't worry, he will. So that was POV, another fine episode of Batman, the animated series. Another one that doesn't get talked about probably as much as it should, because it doesn't have any of the big supervillains in it. But it's definitely a worthy episode, and if you ever go back and rewatch the entire series like I'm doing, definitely look forward to that one. So, or maybe even just give it a second watch, just because it's one you haven't seen a whole lot, because you were distracted by your hearts of ice and your feats of clay, and the upcoming episode, which will be the Clock King, which is another reinvention of what was previously a fairly silly Silver Age supervillain, but given a lot more depth and menace by the crew at Batman the Animated Series. So look forward to that episode. That'll be the next one coming up. I'll probably do that one Monday because tomorrow I got to work like a 12-hour shift, so I don't know if I'm going to feel like doing any videos at all. But hey, I already did 2 of them today, so what more do you want from me? Anyway, if you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to like and subscribe and all the other fun YouTube stuff down below. I've done lots of episodes of Batman the Animated Series so far. Let's see, the next episode is going to be episode 14, so that means I've done 13 episodes of Batman the Animated Series. How about that? Anyway, we will talk to you next time. Bye.